At my brother's engagement party, I was told to park cars. They said, "It's just what you're good at." So I parked, took photos of every license plate, and sent the final guest list to the IRS, including my brother's unreported cash biz. Hey there, we're working hard to hit our first 1,000 subscribers. If you love true, emotional stories, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Now let's get into the story. I knew something was off the second I pulled up and saw the valet tent. It wasn't just the fact that my brother Ethan was throwing an engagement party that looked more like a political fundraiser. Champagne towers, rented chandeliers, a live string quartet. It was who they had stationed at the valet table. No one. Just a folding chair, a clipboard, and a cardboard sign that read, "Park around back." See, Nick. I'm Nick. I wasn't supposed to be working the damn party. I was supposed to be a guest. And yet, before I could even make it up the walkway, my mother spotted me and waved. Not with a smile, but with a set of car keys. "Oh good, you're here. Can you help with the cars? It's just what you're good at." I didn't even get a hello. No hug. No. "Wow, Nick, glad you came." Just keys. And a line that felt like someone had been waiting to say it for years. I stood there for a second, holding the keys like an idiot while she walked off, already calling out for someone else. I looked down at the note on the clipboard. Every guest had a car make, plate, and initials jotted next to their name. And right at the top, under staff, was a single name in all caps. Nick, Cars. You ever feel like a side character in your own family? Yeah, that was the moment. Let me back up a little. My brother Ethan's always been the golden boy. Varsity everything, local entrepreneur, drives a Range Rover he brags about paying in cash. He runs this mobile detailing business, and I'll admit, it's impressive from the outside. Clean branding, big client list, Instagram full of Bentleys, Ferraris, private jets. You'd think he was detailing for celebrities. Thing is, almost everything he makes is under the table. Cash only. No records. No taxes. I've known this for a while. We all have, but no one talks about it. Especially not my parents. Me? I work in IT. Quiet job, steady paycheck, not flashy. I fix systems, build secure servers, and mind my business. But in this family, that translates to Nick's still figuring it out. So when Ethan got engaged to Addison, this Pinterest-perfect influencer type, the whole family basically rolled out a red carpet. And when he announced he was throwing a small engagement dinner, my mom immediately started acting like it was a royal coronation. I showed up in a clean button-down and slacks. Not a suit, not too casual. I figured it was a backyard thing. Turns out, it was black tie, and I was already cast as the help. Back at the driveway, I parked the first car, then the second. By the fifth, my hands smelled like perfume and leather. And not once did anyone thank me. In fact, Addison's friend handed me a Starbucks cup and said, "Can you toss this?" "Thanks, sweetie. I'm 29. Ethan passed me once and clapped me on the back. "Appreciate you helping, man. Some people know how to contribute." Then he walked off, grinning. That's when I pulled out my phone. If I was going to be the guy in charge of cars, I figured I might as well get real familiar with the list. So I took a photo of each license plate, one by one. There were over 40 cars by the time it was all said and done. Everything from Teslas to Jaguars to unregistered Mercedes with paper tags. And funny enough, none of them matched the names I saw in Ethan's Instagram business posts. Something was off. I started matching plates to public databases. Some were owned by LLCs, not people. One car was linked to a shell company in Delaware, another to a landscaping service in Florida, even though the driver was clearly a plastic surgeon from around here. Two were under names I recognized from news stories about real estate fraud. I wasn't even looking for anything. But once I saw the pattern, I couldn't unsee it. This wasn't an engagement party. It was a business summit, a networking cover-up, and I was the unpaid valet in the middle of a pop-up money laundering machine. When I walked inside the house to wash my hands, I caught the end of Ethan's toast. And here's to people who know how to hustle, to building our own future, not waiting for someone to hand it to you. People clapped. Addison kissed him on the cheek. My mom stood next to my dad, beaming. And me? I just looked around at the crowd and thought, you think I'm parking cars? I'm actually documenting the guest list for the IRS. Then I walked back out to the driveway, smiling, because the camera roll in my phone was about to become the most expensive photo album my family had ever seen. Update 2. You know that feeling when you've been dismissed so many times, Your brain just stops reacting to it? That was me. But something shifted that night. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was observant, focused, and weirdly calm. I stood there, in the dark corner of Ethan's perfectly lit driveway. As guests arrived in shiny cars I knew Ethan didn't detail for free. People hugged, laughed, sipped champagne. And in between every overly loud toast and Instagram story selfie, I kept working, silently snapping every license plate, cross-checking names with the guest list clipped to the valet stand, and quietly building a digital folder I titled Engagement Revenue Stream. Because that's what it was. Not a celebration, not a gathering of friends and family. This was Ethan's real game, a cash business disguised in confetti. Let me explain how Ethan's setup works. He started a mobile detailing business 3 years ago. At first, it was just him and a van. Then he got smart, partnered with high-end event planners, luxury car brokers, and started offering exclusive detailing packages to private clients only. On paper, it sounded like a Cinderella story. In reality, it was a gold mine built on one thing: no paper trail. Most of his transactions were cash. Tips, consulting fees, service charges. No receipts unless someone begged. No invoices. No taxes filed. Every time I brought it up, my mom would shrug. Ethan's just resourceful. He's building something real. Meanwhile, when I got promoted at my IT job last year, my dad said, "That's nice, but you're still at the same company, right? No upward mobility. No joke." So anyway, back to the party. At one point, I walked around to the side yard to take a breather. That's when I heard Ethan talking to 2 guys in suits. One of them had a fake-looking Rolex. The other was smoking a cigar like he was in a mafia movie. They weren't talking about wedding plans, or catering, or even business. They were talking about moving inventory. Not soap, not shampoo. Inventory. They spoke in half code, but I caught phrases like split the drop, cash up front, and Vegas run before Q3. I stayed behind a potted plant, heart pounding. Then Ethan said, "The less they know, the safer we are. Family included." That one hit hard. I used to think Ethan just overlooked me, that he was too self-absorbed to notice the damage he did. But that sentence, he knew exactly what he was doing. He'd made a conscious decision to exclude me from his real life. And if I was the outsider, fine. I'd play that role. I walked into the house like nothing had happened, smiled at Addison, even grabbed a mini cupcake. But on my way to the guest bathroom, I slipped into Ethan's home office. Door wasn't even locked. Inside was a thick leather folder with a gold clip. Guest list, vendors, inventory charts. But not for the wedding. This one was labeled Q2 intake, private. It listed names, prices, cars, scheduled pickups, everything. I took out my phone, scanned every page, then carefully put it back exactly the way I found it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wasn't angry. I was wired, sharp, a little sick to my stomach, sure. But more than anything, I felt ready. Ready to stop hoping for their respect. Ready to use the one thing they never thought I had: access. They think I'm some tech geek who parks cars. But I build cybersecurity systems for a living. I know how to secure, trace, document, and tip off the right people without ever leaving a fingerprint. So I sat at my desk, opened a private browser, and went to the IRS whistleblower tip line. There's an actual form for this. You can upload documents, photos, give anonymous reports. I uploaded everything. The plates, the ledger, the messages, even a screenshot from Ethan's business Instagram showing one of the guests at the party, a guy who just so happened to be part of a federal investigation 2 years ago for wire fraud. I clicked submit, and that was that. The golden boy had just been gifted something he couldn't polish. A red flag on a government database. Update 3, the snap. The call started 2 days after the party. First, it was my mom. "Hey, sweetie. Just checking in. Did you maybe see Ethan's folder lying around?" I played dumb. "What folder?" "Oh, he said he left something important in his office. Maybe you passed by." She was trying so hard to keep her voice casual, like this was just a normal misplaced paper situation. But I already knew. They were panicking. The night before, I had received a cryptic email from a no-reply IRS address confirming receipt of my submission. No details, just a case number. That's all I needed. I didn't need revenge that made a scene. I wanted consequences that took time, that crept up like shadows, that couldn't be undone with an apology. That same day, I stopped by my parents' place to return a charger I'd borrowed. Dad was outside cleaning his grill. He barely looked up when I arrived. "You good?" I asked. He grunted. Then, out of nowhere, "You know, your brother's carrying a lot of weight right now. The least you could do is not make it harder for him." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He just shook his head. "Don't play dumb, Nick. If you've got a problem with your brother, handle it like a man. Not like some bitter little tattletale." That word stuck in my throat. Tattletale. Like I'd ratted out a classmate for cheating on a math test. Not exposed an illegal cash scheme operating in our own damn family. I said nothing. Just handed him the charger and walked back to my car. As I turned the key, I saw him in the rearview mirror, shaking his head, muttering something to himself. I didn't even care, because right then, something in me finally snapped, and not with rage. With clarity. They didn't want to believe Ethan could do anything wrong. It was easier to believe that I was jealous, that I was the petty one, the dramatic one, the less successful brother looking for attention. That's when I realized I didn't just send evidence to the IRS. I'd officially filed for emancipation from my family's lies. The next week, I started hearing whispers. A friend of mine from college, now working at a local accounting firm, messaged me. "Yo, not sure if this means anything, but your brother's name popped up during a flagged account review. You good?" I replied with a single thumbs up. I wasn't about to involve anyone else. This wasn't high school gossip. This was paperwork. Agencies. Government oversight. The kind of thing Ethan couldn't handle with a half-hearted apology and a few free car washes. That weekend, he called me. First time in months. Didn't even bother pretending it was casual. "You at the party?" I didn't answer. He paused, then said it slower. "You were there. In the office." "Right." Still nothing. Then he said something that made my stomach twist, but not in the way he probably intended. "You think you're smarter than me? You think the IRS cares? You're a nobody, Nick. You'll always be a nobody." I don't know what I expected. Maybe a little fear, a little guilt, a crack in his voice. But Ethan wasn't scared. He was confident, too confident, which meant one of two things. He didn't know the scope of what I'd collected. Or worse, he'd done this before, and gotten away with it. So I decided to take things a step further. That night, I logged into a secure reporting portal a friend had once shown me. It's used by financial institutions and law firms for reporting patterns of evasion, when someone structures their money just below reporting thresholds to avoid tax flags. And guess what? Ethan's average detailing fees always landed right under the cash report limit. Every single time. He wasn't just lucky. He was strategic, calculated. A criminal dressed as a small business hero. I submitted a second tip. This time, with exact dollar figures, Instagram post dates, time-stamped guest car photos, and linked transactions pulled from public databases. The next morning, his business website went down. And for the first time in years, I smiled. Not a big smile. Not a gloating one. Just a small, quiet one. Because I knew I wasn't done yet. But he was about to be. Update 4. The tip that stung. The website being down was just the beginning. At first, I thought maybe Ethan took it offline himself. Maybe he'd caught wind of the audit and wanted to scrub his tracks. But then I got a DM from someone I didn't even know. It was just a screenshot. A blank loading screen from EthanMobileElite.com, his business site, with the caption, "Thought you'd want to see what happens when you play with fire." No username. No other info. That's when I knew. He was fishing, and I wasn't biting. Over the next 48 hours, everything shifted. Ethan's Instagram, once a constant reel of luxury SUVs and champagne-fueled client thank-you stories, suddenly went silent. No posts. No stories. No likes. Dead air. Then came the group text. From Addison, his fiancée. "Hey fam, just a heads up. Ethan's going through some stuff with his biz right now. Please don't bring it up around his parents. Love you all." I actually laughed when I read it. Love you all. Addison had once told a server to redo her steak or quit her job. Now she was damage controlling like a political aide during a scandal. Then came the real kicker. I was at work, minding my own business, when the front desk buzzed me. Nick, there's someone here to see you." I stepped into the lobby, and there he was, Ethan. Wearing a jacket I knew he couldn't afford anymore, jaw tight, eyes scanning the room like he was expecting backup. I didn't say anything, just stood there, waiting. He finally spoke. "I just want to talk." We stepped outside. He didn't waste time. "I know it was you." I raised an eyebrow. Don't pretend, Nick. I know you sent the tip, the plates, the files, the IRS, maybe even more. You're not as slick as you think. I didn't flinch. Then he leaned in and said something I'll never forget. You always hated me because you weren't me. That was it. Not why did you do it? Not please, stop. Not even let's fix this. Just a middle school level jab dressed as insight. So I looked him dead in the eye and said, no, I hated that you got away with everything. That you thought you were untouchable. That you got praised for building a castle when the whole thing was made of paper. He stared at me, for once, unsure of what to say. So I kept going. You made me park cars at your own engagement party. You used mom and dad like PR agents. You built a business on lies and bragged about making it, while skimming cash off people too dumb to ask questions. You weren't successful. You were lucky. Then I smiled. And I fixed that. He started to say something. Maybe a threat, maybe a fake apology. I don't know. I didn't let him finish. I turned and walked back inside. Didn't look back. That night, he texted me once. You think this is over? You have no idea what you've done. I didn't reply. Because he was right. He didn't know what I'd done. He thought I'd tipped off one agency. He didn't know I'd flagged his business for suspicious financial activity across 3 states. He didn't know I'd submitted his fake invoices to a vendor verification board that works with luxury brokers. He didn't know I'd sent a quiet heads up to the city permits office, letting them know his detailing crews never actually applied for operational licenses on private property. It wasn't a hit. It was a slow demolition, and he was just starting to feel the cracks. The next day, I got a voicemail from my mother. She sounded like someone had died. Nick, sweetheart, I don't know what's going on, but your brother's in trouble. It's serious. Could you call me back? Please. No, I couldn't, because I tried calling them for years. Not on the phone. Not literally. I tried calling them by showing up, by helping, by existing in their world. And they sent me to the driveway. Now, they could sit in their spotless, overly polished living room and figure it out on their own. Update 5, the fall. The audit wasn't quiet. It never is when the IRS shows up uninvited. It started with Ethan's accounts being frozen. Not just his business ones, everything. Checking, savings, credit cards. Apparently, the bank flagged unusual withdrawals and unreported income streams. A polite way of saying, we know you've been lying. Addison posted a cryptic story the next morning. Some people aren't who they say they are. Protect your peace. She deleted it an hour later. But by then, everyone saw it. And the DMs started flying. Even I got a few. Yo, your brother's business getting shut down? Bro, is Ethan okay? I heard something wild. Why'd his fiancée unfollow half your family? I didn't answer anyone. I just watched it all unfold. Because when you set fire to a house built on lies, you don't rush in with a hose. You let it burn. A week later, my mom showed up at my apartment. Unannounced. She looked tired. Older. Like someone who'd been trying to hold a broken vase together with shaking hands. She didn't even say hi. She just walked in, sat on the edge of the couch, and said, "Did you really do this?" I sat across from her and asked, "Do what?" Her voice cracked. "Report him. Ruin him." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "He ruined himself." She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just stared at the floor like it had answers. Then she whispered something I hadn't expected. "You were never supposed to be in the driveway." I blinked. "Then why did you put me there?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "I don't know. It was easier." That hit harder than any insult ever could. It was easier. It was easier to dismiss me, to forget I existed, to assume I'd just keep taking it. Until I didn't. Ethan, on the other hand, didn't show up. He sent a letter. A letter. Typed. Formal. Like he was filing a grievance with HR. To Nick, "I know we've had our differences, but what you did went too far. You've caused irreparable damage to my business, my relationship, and our family. I hope you can live with that." I framed it, right next to the IRS confirmation letter with his case number on it. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Then came the second fallout. Addison left him. Apparently, once the accounts froze and the investors started ghosting, she realized Ethan wasn't some mastermind entrepreneur, just a fast talker who ran out of places to hide. She posted a photo of herself on a yacht a few days later. Caption, "Peace drama." Ethan didn't repost it. He couldn't. He deleted his account that same day. And the final twist? I found out through a mutual that Ethan had started applying for jobs. Real jobs. 9 to 5. Background checks. Salary caps. No more stacks of cash. No more consulting. No more luxury car meets at secret warehouses. He went from running his mouth to filling out W-4s. And I heard he had to sell the Range Rover. You know what he drives now? A used Honda. And he parks it himself. Update 6. The Last Driveway. It's funny how quiet revenge really is. People expect fireworks, shouting matches, some dramatic confrontation that ends in slamming doors or broken plates. But sometimes, it ends with a message left on read. It ends with your brother driving a used car he swore he'd never touch. It ends when your family, the same people who once handed you car keys like a servant, start calling you for help. And you don't pick up. I got another voicemail from my dad last week. Hey, just wondering if maybe you'd want to come by this weekend. Your mom made that chicken you like. We could talk. They never used to invite me to those dinners. Back when Ethan's seat was warm and mine was always just in case someone canceled. Now, I'm the one they're circling back to. The one they're trying to patch things with. And Ethan? He's quiet. Really quiet. His name's still on a few pending investigations that'll probably tie up any hope of rebuilding what he had for the next couple years. Maybe longer. From what I hear, he's renting out his garage now. Detailing regular cars, cash in hand, but this time above board. Real receipts. Real taxes. Imagine that. The best part? I never had to lie. I never had to scream. I never had to twist the knife. I just handed people the truth and let it do what truth always does when it's been ignored for too long. It burned. Sometimes, I walk past the house where the engagement party was held. The lights are off now. For sale sign out front. Guess Addison didn't want to stick around for the cleanup. Can't blame her. She thought she was marrying a king. Turns out, she got a jester in a borrowed crown. Last week, I was at a friend's cookout. Nothing fancy. Just burgers, beer, and people who actually give a damn. At some point, someone asked, "Hey Nick, whatever happened to that family of yours? Thought you had a big shot brother." I just smiled and said, "He's still big, just not shot anymore." They laughed. And that was it. No long speech. No pain in my chest. No ache in my throat. Just peace. Real peace. Not the kind you fake for a group photo or force through clenched teeth. The kind that comes when you finally stop chasing a seat at someone else's table and realize the whole time you were supposed to build your own. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.